It's time for the verbal portion of the intermediate level. And I think the two main problems that guys have when they're trying to keep the conversation going at the intermediate level is either it's not playful enough or they're not into that sex-worthy man, as Tim would say, headspace, and the conversation they're having is very social and normal. And I remember talking about earlier in the program how sometimes maybe I say the same thing as the student, or I go into interview mode and for some reason it works and the girl's laughing when I'm talking about it and she's investing more in the interaction, as opposed to if some chode goes into it, she thinks it's boring and dull. And what is the secret behind that? How does that work? And being from the Midwest here, I go to Chicago regularly, teach boot camp there. And one time I went to this bar called Kingston Mines. It was a fantastic old little dive bar, and it's known for being somewhat of a tourist location for blues, because it was one of the originating places where the blues was created. And I go in there, and it's cool, it's fun. There's this whole group of musicians on stage, and there's literally about 5 guitar players, each waiting their turn to take solos. So I go to the back corner, chill back there, grab a beer, grab a nice Goose Island 312 beer, sit back, relax with some fried cheese curds, probably from Wisconsin, as I'm from Wisconsin, and just sit back there and watch it and see how the show goes down. And while I'm watching, all the old musicians, they're probably in their like 60s or 70s, and you can tell they've just been playing for literally 30, 40 years. And then at the very front, the next guy to take a solo must have been literally 21, 22. And so I'm assuming he's got to be pretty kick-ass if all these old guys are letting this youngster come up and jam. So he gets on stage, and holy shit, it's some of the best stuff I've ever seen. He's fucking rolling it up, like he's all over the place, hitting chords, permutating the chords, doing substitutions, like jazz substitutions and shit, tritone shit, and it's going all crazy, and it's fucking fantastic. It sounds good, and there's a couple people dancing to it, and it's just rocking and rolling, and it was great. So he gets done, standing ovation, everyone loves it. They sit back down, and meanwhile, the music's still going in the background. You got the drums and the bass still moving along to the blues. And all of a sudden, off from the side, I think coming out of the bathroom, this old, huge black guy, his guitar is probably out to here. He comes out, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, he's next. This should be pretty good too. And literally, all he does, he just comes out there, takes the guitar, and just goes, and I think he literally plays 2 notes for about 5 minutes. And about 5 seconds, 10 seconds in, people start standing up. Everyone runs to the dance floor. They're dancing, and he's just swagger locking, hitting that shit, and just holding that note, and people are loving it. And it has so much more meaning and so much power behind it than the guy before who was all over the place. This is the real deal shit. I'm just hitting it hard, and you can tell he's probably been playing that guitar for 50, 60, 70 some years of just playing the blues and knowing how to do that and just owning the shit so much more. And I think guys, when they come from that logical headspace, they're thinking of like, what's the best story? How can I hit her harder? What can I do here? How can I add more to it? What's the best content? Like, what should I say? How should I say it better? And how should I be more emotional towards her? Should I be more descriptive? And they're thinking of all the little scales and the permutations to add on instead of just taking that shit, bam, and fucking owning it like a boss. That is what makes the conversation go better. So I want you to start getting in that headspace and own the shit you say. I say the exact same shit you would, but for me, I feel like it's like gold is coming out of my mouth. Literally like gold is pouring out. And I feel it's fantastic. And everything I do then I can really focus more on being that loud, extroverted person as opposed to being worried about the exact thing that I'm saying. I think another good example that I like using similar to that is one of the gurus that a lot of guys at RSD like is Eckhart Tolle. He's an Eastern philosophy guy that's been pretty popular over the last 5 years or so. And I love his job, right? Because basically what he does, he gets on stage and he has this panorama of flowers behind him. And he goes and sits in his chair with his microphone just held here. And he sits in his chair. And his whole concept is the power of now, and the moment and the present moment is all we have. And all he does is get up there And whatever the universe provides for him, whatever flows into his head, that's what he talks about. There's usually no curriculum. He just says whatever. So he's up there talking, thinking, meditating, using silence, explaining about the isness of the universe, and to stop doing and just be now, be one with all that is, because that all there ever is the now. And it's fucking sweet. He just spews shit out, whatever comes out of his brain. And if I think about it, I kind of do the same thing here a little bit. I obviously have a structure to what's going on here. But when I'm talking to the woman, what you need to do is become the guru. Be your own guru, as Nathan would say. Become the guru, where everything coming out of your brain is like, oh my God, people should be paying me for this shit. This shit is fantastic. This shit is gold. Just because it's coming out of my mouth, my brain, I'm so smart. This is amazing. Yes, extreme self-love. This is the next level of it, through the level of the words of everything I'm saying is awesome. Why? Because it's coming from me. And then that passion that comes through that, it goes back to, again, whatever you feel, she feels. And because you're owning it and you're loving it and you're enjoying it, that's what makes your conversations good. Whenever guys are worried about how to make things more playful, what you need to do, like everything that I've been talking about, is shine the mirror back on yourself and make it more playful for you. So through things like increasing your self-esteem, using extreme self-love, learning how to feel awesome, and then what was the other concept and the other frame that we were using for the intermediate level? Having fun. So that's the other side of it. Have fun first. Create those inside jokes. Find out, watch the movies, what makes you laugh. And when you're having fun with it, they're going to have fun with it. That's what's going to make it playful, is when you're having fun and making it playful for you and enjoying it. Then they're just automatically going to have fun just by being a part of that, even if they don't even understand the reason behind it. So this is the major sticking point that most guys at this level have, and it's totally under your control. Don't let the environment, don't let the girl, don't let your friends, don't let the soberness or the fact that you're not drinking or whatever in your environment affect you. Be the force, be the yacht, and make that shit happen. Make the decision to do this and start training yourself to be able to crank up that dial where your state of your emotional headspace, your emotional state is just there, it's just rocking, and nothing can affect it. You would think with more and more experience of going out, socializing, that over time you would become a great listener. You would be able to eloquently discourse back and forth very nicely. But actually what ends up happening is you get with more women, start caring less and less about what they're talking about. You realize how little importance it actually carries. And because you've been with more women, you just start loving yourself more. Your self-esteem goes up. And you feel all the gold that's just coming out. You just want to spew more gold. So the girl's talking to you, and you're really just talking at her. Or she's saying some things, and that makes me think of this. Something pops into my head. I just start talking about that for a while. She might say some other crap, and that makes me think about something else that I want to say. And I just let that out. And it just keeps on flowing and naturally going. And I'm just talking at her. I don't really care what's being said there. And what's cool is I'm becoming the full leader of the interaction. I'm leading the rhythm of it, and I'm also leading it in the direction I want. Usually, if I'm not totally in the flow and I'm not in that awesome headspace, those times are when all of a sudden that's when it falls into the friend to friend. We're just having a chat here. Let's just have a chat, which I know is such a common problem. And how do you get out of the chat? What you need to do is switch the frame up and start leading it in the direction you want. And I think to all of a sudden, jump into it, you actually could, if your frame was strong enough, you could very easily move it into a sexual direction or whatever direction you want. But sometimes a transition phase helps. So a cool little outer game tweak that I found when I'm into that friend-to-friend or interview mode is I'll start cutting threads pretty quickly. So all of a sudden we're talking about the weather, and in my head I'm thinking, I don't want to be talking about the weather. I want to be having sex with her. How do I get there, right? So all of a sudden the weather, I'm like, that's boring. Let's not talk about that. Let's talk about Buenos Aires. I love this city. Yeah, I love Buenos Aires too. You know, Buenos Aires is cool, but you need to check out my place. I have this amazing bed. She's like, why are you talking about your bed? It's amazing. I love my bed. You know, I'm renting this place. It's fantastic. You're going to check it out later. Haha, no, I'm just joking. Boom. And all of a sudden for me cutting the threads, I was able to smoothly ramp it in to a more sexual man-to-woman type frame. I think if I really think about it though, you could just hit it really hard. Back when I was just starting off, I remember I just broken up with my long-term girlfriend and just finding about this pickup stuff. And I remember I was chatting with this girl, and I was just learning how to flirt, like what sarcasm was in the banter mode. And so we were going back and forth, flirting. And I remember thinking in my head after a while of this, I was thinking, how do I get out of this? I'm in this flirty mode. How do we just have a normal conversation? I want to like move things forward here. But all I could keep doing was saying, oh, I bet you would. And she was being sarcastic back and it was going back and forth. And ultimately it just faded away into nothing because I didn't know how the hell to deal with it. Looking back now, how would you transition from that sarcastic banter into a more normal conversation? You just do it. There's no eloquent way. You just say, hey, come here. We're talking about this now. She's like, oh, banter back. Hey, we're not talking like that anymore. Just relax. Let's have a normal conversation here. So you might have that little friction point in between where she's still in a certain frame and thinking a specific way. And by you leading it and moving in a different direction, of course, she's not going to be instantly ready to rock into that new headspace. So you have to be willing to push through that little bit of friction. I think most guys are afraid of that. And at any sign of apprehensiveness from the girl, they just freak out and fade back into it. But you need to be the leader here. You need to lead the conversation. As we move into the end game for the intermediate level, it's going to be all about leading her here, leading her over there, physically leading her, and then leading her out of the club into your bedroom, and even in the bedroom leading her. So you need to start building that as we get into the verbal situation here. Something one of my friends talked about, man whore, what he mentioned, is that a lot of times when you get LMR or resistance in the bedroom, you go home and you take her home and you're all of a sudden trying to hook up with her in the bedroom and she gives you some resistance. A lot of that comes from because now all of a sudden it's her frame, she's leading, and because you didn't lead properly throughout, things are all jumbled up. But if you're that fucking leader from the very beginning, you lead the rhythm from the beginning, you lead the way the conversation's going, you lead it into that man to woman frame, and then you lead her around, you lead her home, she's just going to fully submit. And that's what being swept off your feet really is when you're just the leader, you take full responsibility and you move things forward. So the way to get there is start leading the conversation. Earlier in this section, we talked about shit tests, congruence tests, how to pass them, and how they build attraction when you do pass them. I didn't mention specific ways, at least verbal ways to deal with them. So we'll get into that and also the more subtle ones. Again, the whole goal is just to stay in the frame that you want it, of I'm awesome and I'm having fun. So anytime she gives you a test, the goal would be to basically just ignore it, not even see it, and continue things on the way you're going. So what you're doing, you're talking, things are going awesome, I'm awesome, blah, 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 blah. All of a sudden she says, you have weird hair. How should I respond here? And there's, of course, a milieu of different ways you could respond. You could over-exaggerate it and say, oh, thanks, I spend 5 hours on it every single day. Thank you so much for noticing my hair. So you could over-exaggerate it. You could call her out, say, hey, why are you talking about my hair? Chill out. Anyway, boom, 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 boom. And that's a better direction. At least then you're still maintaining the frame that way. Sometimes with the over-exaggeration, it can come across as try hard, or you're reacting by trying not to react. You're actually overreacting. For me, as we move into the more advanced level and the subtleties of this game, is I think less is more. Less is always more. So for me, usually how I would respond to most shit tests is just a facial expression. So she might say, are you a player? And I can just respond with a head nod or me looking like this basically, which conveys to her that she just fucked up and she should probably chill out and be a normal girl and not be weird. And I might even verbalize this. It's like, hey, I'm trying to flirt with you. Be cool. Let's have a good time here. And the more authentic you can be with it, the more congruent, the better. I think another thing with that too, at this level, I definitely noticed it with the newbies, but for them, I'm just trying to get them social, having some experience, and to start calling girls out and making things more serious. He doesn't have the experience to be worrying about that as well. But what you don't want to do is you don't want to compromise your value when you're talking to a girl. So you have the old school pickup the old school pickup concept of being as comfortable or more comfortable than the girl. And I think that's great advice. So when you're talking to her, you see the guy that rolls up and he kneels down next to her and he's super awkward and totally uncomfortable and he's completely compromising his comfort just to try to talk to the girl and have it go well. It's basically like supplicating to the king or something. So that's a very obvious one. And I think it is a very important thing to always be somewhat conscious of, okay, she's seated. I need to find a seat pretty quickly here, or move her over, or have her sit on my lap, because that is a logistical situation where otherwise you're going to be kneeling down and getting pretty uncomfortable. And pretty quickly she's going to lose attraction just because she sees you're investing way too much and it's way too big of a deal to you that you're uncomfortable. That's the same reason why leaning in is always bad. You're leaning in to hear them better, but it's not comfortable to be like this. So leaning in is always a bad body language thing. My chin never goes in front of my belt. I'm never like this. I'm always peacocking it out, back out. When I'm walking around, when I'm walking through the club, I'm always walking a little slower than normal. If you're a high value guy, people will wait for you. It's usually the guy racing around and running around. He's worried that people are going to leave without him. The high value guy, he doesn't give a shit. He's got nowhere to go in a hurry. People are waiting. So he's just going to walk a little slower and you're going to be strutting. I remember my ex-girlfriend, I was coming out of the bathroom and she's like, ha 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 ha, you walk weird. You walk, or like she thought it was cute. She thought it was actually really hot. And I'm like, what? Is it like what did I say it was? Was it like a stride or something? She's like, no, it's like a strut. It's like you're the rooster who's just strutting through. It's not like the model who, the model's kind of got that too. If you watch runway models, they got that really confident thing going there. Guys, they got the swagger, they got the strut a little bit more. And I want you to start working on that. Keep the shoulders back. And as long as you keep that chin behind your belt, I know for a lot of guys that actually creates a certain mindset where they're less likely to be more on the front end of the conversation and they're more in the pocket. I think that's very important from a verbal game standpoint, is you want to be in the pocket, in the back end, as opposed to really, oh, that's great, that's fantastic. This relates directly back to the blues guitar analogy I was talking about. Instead of playing like the heavy metal, where you're just really on the front end, you want to be in that swagger, where you're not responding too quickly to the shit she's talking about. You can still own it, have a lot of fun with it, but it's coming from that back space, that pocket, and riding it low. And I think you'll get a lot better reactions if you can kind of get in that headspace. What I was coming back to before with compromising your value, outside of the whole being in the pocket type shit and the dick walk, is calling the girl out if things aren't going the way you want. Guys are just happy that she's there and they're just thinking, oh, she's standing there. This is going awesome. At least she's standing there. The last 3 approaches I did, they were so quick. I just got to stay in here. I got to stick in here. She's looking at her phone, but oh, she's kind of talking to the friend. I'll just stand here and wait. And they compromise their value, and it's just annoying. If you think about, let's say you're training someone at your job, you're in the job, you have the skill, and you're teaching some guy. Are you going to let them just sit there and play on their phone while you're talking to them? No, you're going to say, hey, get off the damn phone. I'm trying to teach you something here. So in that environment, there's very obvious hierarchy and who has the value. But when you're talking to the girl, you don't see that, especially when you're like a pickup artist and you're just trying to get good reactions. You might not even like the girl, but you're just hoping for the good reaction. So you're willing to deal with that shit. What you need to start doing and what you need to start getting comfortable with is calling someone out. So girl, you're looking at her and in your head you see she has wavering eye contact. She's looking away. Call her out. Hey, you have bad eye contact. Look at me when I'm talking to you. Boom, just say it like it is. She's giving you it's a little bit awkward. This is one that happens a lot. You go in, maybe your approach isn't perfect, fantastic, or you coming in and winging your friend and he's not really doing very well over here. So you come in, she sees you, she sees the friend, and she thinks you're kind of weird too. So you go in and you have to be like, hey, no, I'm normal. Don't worry, I'm normal. Let's have a conversation here. Hey, you're cute. What's your name? Just tell me your name. Don't worry, I'm cool. Just relax. And sometimes you have to be that calming presence and just push things forward. She's a little bit uneasy and doesn't know how to respond. So you have to be the one to push it through. And like I was saying during the approach phase, is as you can make it more and more normal, dealing with that little bit of social pressure, she's going to respond and be very attracted because she sees that you're comfortable being the man. With the direct approach, it's amazing how much you can convey from that initial, just me being the calming presence, going in and being the leader. She can basically extrapolate that out. Your approach and the middle version here in the mid game that we're talking about, she can extrapolate that out for a whole relationship. Let's say you have kids and all of a sudden your kid falls on the bike. You're not going to be freaking out going, oh my God, what do we do? I don't know what to do here. You're comfortable and relaxed because she sees that you're comfortable when you spill the drink or trip over the crutches or say something stupid and you recover, or the friend comes in I think I was talking about that in the beginner's guide of how the friend comes in. You don't just freak out, you deal with it. These are the type of things that are moving the interaction forward and really solidifying the attraction. She sees you being consistent when random things happen. When I get puked on, the Excalibur gets puked on, or some dude comes in, or the bouncer pushes you away. These are what are solidifying that attraction, and you are just keeping it going, just rocking. And the conversation itself isn't going anywhere. You're just having fun with it, dealing with the shit test. And what you'll realize is as you get more advanced and you get more experience, is usually the shit tests you get, they're very subtle. So when I was talking about calling people out, those are the shit tests that you're gonna get. The girls, it's not gonna be something as obvious as you're a player, or is that your pickup line? After a while, that stuff goes away, and they're not gonna be verbal tests when she's getting at you. Usually what it is you're talking to her, and maybe she's a little bit unreceptive, or she kind of wanders off a little bit, and she's waiting for you to call her out. Or as I mentioned in the newbie guide about how maybe she just doesn't talk for a little while to see what you do. Or she goes off and talks to her friend and she's waiting for you to see how you respond when she's talking to the friend. How do you respond, right? I think this is a good example again of getting into the inner game and how the inner game is better than the outer game. Because of course there's multiple different ways you could respond here. You see the girl, she goes over, talks to the friend. What do I do? Do I approach another girl, create a jealousy plotline? Do I just stand here and pretend to email? Or do I go up and reinitiate? Do I talk to her again? What do I do? Do I go to the bathroom? Do I go get a drink? And the right answer is you can do all of them. You can do anything. It's all about how you feel internally. What's going to happen is she's going to go over, talk to her friend, and she'll look back at some point and she'll see you. And she'll look and see your face and your eyes to see if you're in your head or not. If she looks back and you're looking over all sad or pretending to fake text and it's obvious, she's going to assume that this guy is investing way too much in this interaction and it's a big deal. So she's not going to come back and she's not even going to want to talk to you anymore. It's basically a test. She's testing, subtly testing you. So as long as you don't care, you can do whatever you want. For me, shit, here's an opportunity to check my email. Oh, let's go on RC Nation and see the comments that people left on my articles. Oh, that's cool. Oh, fantastic. And then all of a sudden she'll see that and see that I don't care, and she'll either come back, or the other thing that happens is I just get bored. When I finally do get bored, I am going to go over and say, hey, what are you guys talking about? Cool, that's fantastic. Blah, blah, blah. Boring, let's talk about me. And I'm going to cut the thread and move it in the direction I want to. It's also good to notice whenever I reinitiate, to always reinitiate with the breaking rapport, commanding tonality again, just so I cut through the stimulus of the friends talking, so I can be the dominant force again. So that's kind of a good little outer game standpoint. But the time is different for when I do reinitiate. It comes down to in my own head, when do I think that I'm getting bored there? So that's when you want to actually go in. It comes back to, again, not compromising your own value and just chilling out and choding there because you're worried about her. But as I said, so you'll notice these more and more subtle tests, and the way to ultimately deal with them is be authentic, be how you really feel. Don't try to be all gamey and over-exaggerate it or do some weird jealousy plotline. The more you can just be real and do what you actually feel, that's what's going to work. So now, what's the goal? What do you really feel? What do you really want? You want the girl. So let's get into the end game here and get her back home.